I'll tell you though, he knows he's really in trouble when I go, "Hey, do you have a cold open?" And then he says no, or he says, "Yeah, but if you got something," and then I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah." So I figured we would keep it short and sweet tonight, but I do want to talk about a little something that is on topic. I've actually been listening to Talkville, which is the Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling. If you don't know, that's Lex and Clark from Smallville. I have been watching the show, and so I have been listening to the podcast a little bit, and they actually have been going through the entire show, like episode by episode, and kind of talking about it. And I've learned a lot of stuff about the show that's like really cool. I've also learned that if I was going to start a podcast with anyone else, which I wouldn't, for the record,
of course,
it would not be Tom Welling. He's a terrible co-host.
Is he really?
He's an absolutely terrible co-host. He like talks over Michael Rosenbaum all the time. Like,
oh wow.
And he also, get this, he rabbit holes a lot. Like, he'll just take them off topic.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
He does that.
He does, yeah.
I can't imagine having a co-host who would just rabbit hole into some bullshit.
I know.
I could never.
You couldn't operate that way. Right?
It would make my job so much harder. You know?
And the thing about it, too, is like, Michael Rosenbaum has his own podcast. And then they have a third guy on there. A lot of the big time people have like a podcast. What's that other guy called? A podcast manager?
I get like a Conrad.
Yeah, Conrad, or like a like what Tony Hinchcliffe used to be when he was like in the shadows.
Yeah.
Like before he came out and we all hate him. Like what's that guy? Producer?
Yeah, producer / host.
Yeah.
Someone for like the talent to bounce off of.
Yeah, a demi host.
Yeah.
And they have another guy. So it's Michael Rosenbaum. He has his own podcast.
You all right?
And his demi host from that is also on there. I think his name's like Ryan. It's a very basic name, which I suppose in that role is nice. But he's actually never seen the show before, so he's got an interesting perspective on it. Like he's watching it with them for the very first time.
See, I've seen a few clips of that podcast online. Which, by the way, you guys can catch this podcast also online wherever you get your podcast shit from.
Wherever you listen to this one.
Yeah, wherever you're watching or hearing this right here, right now. It's just one of many places where you can hear and or see us. But no, it seemed pretty interesting. Like, because I used to get clips that would show up on my feed from their podcast. And it would be them talking about random episodes. And sometimes they'd have like guests on who also own the show.
Yeah.
And it seemed pretty cool, though, but I haven't thoroughly checked it out yet.
Something real quick that I learned in the very first episode, like in the pilot, so like Tom Welling never really done anything besides like plays. He never really, he's very young. I think he was like maybe not even 18 yet when they cast him.
Wow.
And so he goes on set and he's like, wow, all these other people are like real actors. And Michael Rosenbaum is there, and they're filming the scene where Clark rescues him in the pilot. Mm-hmm. And apparently they had a 25-foot water tank, right? And they actually had the car down at the bottom of the tank. And so like they had this like professional diver and a medic, and like they would give Michael Rosenbaum the oxygen tank, and then they would like swim him down there and put weights on him so he didn't float. And then he would have the oxygen tank, and they'd be like, all right, then he had like an earpiece in. And, like, the director would be like, okay, let us know when you're ready to go. And Michael Rosenbaum would be like, phew. And then, like, they would take the oxygen off of him, and then they would shoot. And, like, there was, like, 6-7 times that he like, freaked out and was like, you got to get me out of here right now.
Yeah.
Which I would, too, man.
Weights, no, thank you.
There wasn't a safer way to do a stunt like that?
I guess not in 2001.
I find that difficult to believe.
Right, me too. Me too.
Yeah, they had to come up with something else.
Yeah,
I mean, with some of the other things that you told me about the show and the people who are like in charge, they sound kind of like assholes. So I'm not really surprised.
Yeah, Tom Welling, like he was shooting like 12, 14-hour days.
Oh. And
like so basically he would go to sleep, wake up, spend the whole day on the set because like he's in basically every scene, And then that's it. And like they were talking about how like he actually didn't have any way to memorize his lines for it. He had no time for it. And so all the other cast members, you know, they can go out and play off somebody, do their lines. So that's why a lot of times, like, someone will walk into the room and exposit a bunch, and then Clark will just be like, "What do you mean?" And then, like, or there's a lot of scenes in the show where he'll be in Chloe's in the torch or whatever, you know, the newspaper, and Chloe will be walking around, or Pete, and they'll be pacing, and he'll be talking to them, and he's at the computer, and his lines are on the screen.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. If it works, it works.
But they actually they had to hire a driver for him after like the first couple seasons because they were worried he was gonna like pass out driving just because of how much time he put in on the set like every day. Yeah.
Well, hopefully he got more than the Power Rangers did.
I hope so.
Yeah.
He's still making bank off of all these appearances and stuff.
Oh, well, that's good then.
Yeah. So.
You know, I mean, hell, 10 years ago, I was making more than the Power Rangers.
Right, that's true. That original set of Power Rangers didn't make a damn thing.
No.
They also weren't really in the show that much. Because it's only them when it's the teenagers. You know, anytime they have the helmets on or any of that.
But, like, those seasons were long as hell, and so were their days.
That's true. Did they make money off the movie, you think? Because that's always them, right, in the movie?
Yeah, it's
a stunt doubles, you know. But Jason David Frank did his own stunts, right?
He did.
He was probably making bank by then.
He might have been. He was the only one, really.
He was the money.
Yeah. But yeah, they were making like $700 a week.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a doc on them that's out right now. So
I need to watch that. I guess in like 92.
No, it still wasn't.
It's still so bad. That's still bad.
Well, I'm just saying, you could at least pay your rent in 92.
Oh, well, yeah.
Now you can pay your rent and maybe get you some ramen noodles.
Ooh.
If you, like, don't have a car.
Yeah, or any other fiscal responsibilities.
Yeah. No, that's all you're getting. Like, no lights,
Right.
no internet, just your house and some ramen.
Yeah.
You might be able to scrape together a microwave to cook that ramen in.
See, when you say ramen, people are probably thinking, "Oh man, like a fancy bowl of ramen." You mean?
No, I mean that top ramen, that like $10 for $1 top ramen.
What James lives off of because he's a teenager.
That's right. Check out our Minecraft review if you want to see James here on the show. I'm sure he'll be back at some point. But we don't want to blue balls you all any longer. We know why you're here. You're here to get our early access review of James Gunn's Superman movie. Some proper introductions are in order, and then I will proceed with the reading of the rules.
Homies, one and all, allow us to welcome you back to another very super episode of the Superhero Homies podcast. It's Super Squared. My name is Q, and as always, I am here with the world's coolest co-host. It's in his contract, I have to say that. And I'm referring to, of course, none other than the homie Caleb.
What's going on, everybody? I have been so excited about this. I was just saying in the car ride on the way to the movie that, like, it both feels like this movie took forever to come out and also that we just saw the first trailer. Like, somehow it feels like both.
Kind of weird how that happened.
Yeah.
And joining us once again is none other than the Crochet Fairy herself. She has materialized into this plane of existence once again just for this review. I'm talking about none other than the homie K. Welcome back.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And like Caleb said, we are here to discuss Superman. That's
right.
it. Yeah.
That's it. So if this is your first time tuning in with us, the first half of this review is going to be spoiler free. And the second half, once we get done with the spoiler-free section, we're going to tiptoe on over to the second half. We'll give you guys plenty of warning. The second half will be spoiler-filled. So if you haven't seen the movie, you might want to dip out right then. Or, if you just don't care about spoilers, stick around.
Don't care.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I was wondering, why'd you look over at Kay when you said...
Because I have I don't care about spoilers. With my anxiety, it actually makes me feel better. So, I like knowing what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Not necessarily, everything, but, the main plot points.
Okay.
Now, of course, this is me being a hypocrite because the only person to ever drop a major spoiler during one of these reviews is me.
Yeah, I haven't done it on this show.
Yeah, I know. That means you have one up on Caleb.
Yeah. Yeah, about, I think it's been long enough that I can talk about it for real.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so in like the first 10 minutes of the Brave New World review, I'm like, yeah, so when Bucky shows up, and then I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, I was like, oh, man.
Everyone just looks at me and I'm like, ooh.
My bad.
Yeah, I was like, that's going to be some editing. Okay.
Yeah, that did not make it into the review thanks to our wonderful, lead here and also editor-in-chief.
Yeah, so the way it comes off in the podcast, it goes, and when the salmon, spoiler, it's like da-da-da-da.
Yeah. This is the Perry White of the superhero homies, if you will.
Wait, do I still have that button or do I get rid of it? Spoiler. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
But yes, homies, we are here to discuss the 2025 Superman. And like you said, Caleb, I'm in agreement. I feel like this movie took forever to finally get here. And now that it is here, let's go ahead and rip the bandage off. How do we feel about this movie? What you guys think of it?
Absolutely loved it. Made me very happy. I teared up once. It was great.
Very nice.
I have to say, this is without a doubt my favorite Superman movie. And I have been on a Superman kick as of late, which is
really has.
The first time that's ever happened in my life, I think. I'm a Smallville fan. I binged Smallville back in like the late 2000s, but I've never picked it back up again until very recently. I think what really did it for me was the Christopher Reeve documentary, and also our episode where we talked about kind of the history of Superman, and then also us to a lesser extent, us reviewing All Star Superman last year. Yeah. I think that Christopher Reeve documentary really did it.
It was really good. The last part that I saw of it, oh my goodness.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a tearjerker.
Yeah.
But it's so good. And so I've just been kind of binging Superman media here lately, as you know, and so coming into this, I wasn't disappointed at all. I really loved it.
Yeah, I am a fan of Superman, and I am also a fan of James Gunn. And so for me, this movie kind of had a lot to live up to, a lot of stakes, and I mean, this movie just has a lot riding on it, on its success. So it needs to be something that's good in the eyes of the audience. It needs to be something that can make a decent bit of coin, and it needs to be a movie that leaves people feeling good and happy about Superman and about this new state of the DC universe. I think this movie did all of that. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I think I can also say that this is my favorite Superman movie as well. There's, I think this movie is really going to separate people who maybe thought they were fans of Superman and people who are like really fans of comic book-esque Superman, because if you're not a fan of comic books, this may not be for you. This is very much a comic book movie.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to run it back in my mind, and we've said this about previous movies a couple of times, but this to me, as of right now, I think this is the most comic book like movie ever. I mean, it at least in like the cultural zeitgeist, as far as like a AAA studio coming out with it.
Yeah. This feels like it could have been a DC animated movie, and I mean that in all the best ways. DC animated used to be phenomenal movies, so you guys know that I say that as like a term of endearment. But I thought that this was a great movie. I thought that this was a beautiful love letter to what Superman should be and what he represents, and it did such a great job of kind of fulfilling the things that I needed it to do, which was to humanize Superman while also showing that he is just larger than life. It needed to find a way to present him with new, interesting threats, I think this movie did a pretty decent job of that as well. And boy, we'll get more into this later on, and this may be a bit of a hot take, especially considering what you just said earlier. But I think I have a new favorite Lex Luthor now. And Nicholas Hoult.
We can go ahead and get into that.
Okay.
I mean, I love Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was a great Lex.
Yes.
I won't say I love. I before today I liked Nicholas Hoult. I've never seen him do a bad job. But this may be the first time he ever like knocked me off my feet. Anytime I see any Lex Luthor, I immediately compare them to Michael Rosenbaum, obviously, because that is Lex for me. Now he's going to have to share that spotlight with Nicholas Hoult because honestly, I think, and controversy aside, I think Nicholas Holt's Lex here is kind of like a combo of Rosenbaum and Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
It's like he's got more of the energy that Kevin Spacey's Lex had, and then the kind of charisma that Michael Rosenbaum's Lex had, and I think it's kind of this kind of perfect melding of those two things.
He was very charismatic.
He was, right? Like, what you need in a villain, especially a villain like Lex Luthor, is he needs to believe in his cause.
Oh, he believed it too.
Absolutely.
And he had everybody in the room basically believe in him too.
Yes.
Especially in like his little headquarters, like, whew.
I think when you're like a multi-billionaire, you can really get people to believe whatever you want them to believe.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, they believed him because he was who he was, not necessarily because he was paying them.
True.
And
Yeah.
I felt like that was the difference between when he was talking to somebody who wasn't one of his employees. You could tell they had like a little bit of a pushback.
Yep.
But when it came to his employees, they really truly believed in him, and I think they probably would have even without their little paychecks.
Yeah, his and we'll get more to them later on for sure, especially the ones that are more impactful in the movie. But there is clearly something to Lex's message, right? Because it resonated with so many people. But yeah, I thought that Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor here, this guy, he just came out swinging. I mean, from the first moment you see him on screen, he is just full on. And this is the version of Lex that, I really, really wanted to see. And here's the thing, like, Michael Rosenbaum, obviously, like, I thought he was incredible as Lex Luthor. And that's kind of why when he left the show, I kind of quit watching. But the thing of it is, just the nature of Smallville as a show, the nature of Smallville as a show, it's the problem with prequels, is that they can never really get to that point where you want them to. There's kind of like a soft cap that's on them as far as like what they can do. And Michael Rosenbaum took that limitation, just pushed it to the limits, and and it was great. But this, what we got from Nicholas Hoult, is kind of like where you wanted that character to eventually progress to.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I feel like if Clark had been honest with Michael Rosenbaum's Lex, he probably would have protected Clark. This way though, no, this guy would have strung him up anyway just because he could.
Right then.
Oh, yeah.
On site. There's a scene, and I can't talk about what was happening on the monitor, but there's a scene in the movie where he's watching something, and he does this thing with his face. And that's the moment that I was completely sold. I'll talk more about it in the spoiler half, but like that moment I was like, that's good. Like, that's incredible. I'm completely sold on who this guy is from this moment.
For me, with him being Lex, was his chill. So throughout everything, even when people are mad, there's stuff flying around, he's just casual. He's just walking. He knows that the people that he's put around him are going to be, like, he's good. And so I loved how he commanded a room even when things were in chaos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was a king at that kind of manipulation.
Yeah.
I like seeing him being performative. And I don't mean like Nicholas Hoult being performative, but I mean like the character of Lex Luthor putting on a show for people outside of his inner circle.
Right.
And, just having people see him in this kind of sympathetic or apologetic light that he wants them to see him in. Like, he's helping people. But in reality, we all know that Lex is just helping himself. I thought that was great.
Yep. We've got to talk about the man of the hour.
Yes. The man of steel of the hour.
I think I must extend an apology to David Cornsweet for picking on his name over the last year. I thought he freaking killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a very good Superman, and he was a phenomenal Clark. I feel like Clark sometimes gets downplayed a little bit, but a lot of Clark came through even when he was Superman. And that doesn't always, it's almost like two separate personalities, but his portrayal of Superman, he still held on to Clark, and I really liked that.
When we did our preview episode, I talked about how, when they cast Batman, they cast someone who can be Bruce. But when they cast Superman, they cast somebody that can be Superman. They don't cast for Clark. And here, other than Tom Welling, right? Because they did the opposite. They were like, oh, he looks terrible in the suit, but he was fine. But yeah, I agree. I think that not only was my problem with Henry Cavill's Superman always that there really was no Clark Kent to me. With this, it's like there's always a Clark Kent.
Right. Because
that person who they are is Clark, right? For the most part. And I absolutely I thought that he did a great job, and I thought that maybe even more important than that James Gunn did an incredible job, because if you flip it around and you put Henry Cavill in this movie with this script, I think he would have killed it here too. It's about the tone and the way it's presented.
Yeah, I actually never really enjoyed Henry Cavill's Superman at all. I saw one of the last DC movies that all came out because I just didn't like any of it. The tone and the vibe of all of it was just off. So I didn't watch any more of them.
You didn't miss a lot.
Yeah, so I'm told. So
Snyder Cut. I would recommend that highly.
That's it. Yeah, Snyder Cut. Yeah.
I have a slightly different take, and that is, and this is going to sound like a semantics thing, and it really isn't though. For me, it's not so much that there's more Clark here, because for me, Clark is kind of the put on. It's not really who he is. Who he is Kal-El. And Kal-El is a person without an identity, and he's trying to fill in those blanks. We do get that here, and I think that's tremendous. I think for me, the thing that really sold me was the script wrote a lot more of his humanity into it. And so there's moments where, not to spoil anything, but even from the beginning of the movie, you see that, okay, he's got some shit to figure out and work through. And
nature versus nurture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was a bit of that going on here, and I think that really helped bolster his performance even more. I think his performance was great. I think he did a tremendous job. I can't wait to see what they do with him next.
Yes.
As Superman, for sure. But when I think about it, there are a handful of true classical traditional Clark Kent scenes, but they all serve a bigger purpose. And that is to show him under different lights. And I really like how he's presented there in those different frameworks. We'll get way more to that in the spoiler section. Can't talk too much about those here, but there are tremendous scenes. But they're not just day in the life type shit. It's more this is Clark underneath this type of circumstance, and how will he react? And then when you see him as Superman, what I really dig about this is you get to see this larger than life figure, but he's got these threats that bring him down to earth, sometimes literally. So I thought it was tremendous.
Just to clarify, when I say that he's the Clark Kent is more pervasive here, I don't necessarily mean the facade, right?
Yeah.
The kind of bumbling reporter, I mean more of the kid who was raised on a farm in Smallville. You know, you see so much more of that, even when he's not when he's Superman.
Yeah.
That comes through a lot more to me, and it's very nuanced, and I really enjoy that. This has got to be the most serious like James Gunn movie we've gotten.
Yeah, for sure. Either this or Guardians 3.
Yeah, that's true.
Guardians.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah, a little bit. But no, I thought that he absolutely killed it here. I really enjoyed not only his performance, but the direction and the writing for his character as well. Because at the end of the day, that all needs to be done so particularly. Because like I am someone who enjoyed Henry Cavill's portrayal of Superman, but I understand it's not for everybody because not everyone wants to see Superman in that kind of light. Whereas for me, I like to see Superman in that kind of light because we don't get to see that very often. But this here, I think, is just like a kind of a perfect example of what you want to transplant from the comic books to the big screen. And they did, again, just a great job. What'd you guys think about Lois?
I liked this Lois a lot better than previous people who've played Lois. Okay, so I grew up watching Lois and Clark. Y'all remember that show?
Oh yeah, we talked about it extensively on our
Okay,
preview.
I loved Terry Hatcher as Lois. I thought she was amazing. And she was just as strong in ways as Superman. Like she would fight somebody. She would go after him. She would be like, that's my dude and I'm gonna look out for him. And she never really backed down. It wasn't just in a reporter standpoint that she stood up. Like she was willing to stand up in other ways too, instead of just getting the dirt. And I felt like this Lois was able to show that, especially like when she went beyond what was right in front of her. And I really liked that a lot because sometimes Lois gets pushed to the side as just that's Superman's girlfriend. And instead of being a strong female character, and I felt like this portrayal of Lois was very, she wasn't necessarily balanced, but it was more balanced. Like she was her own. And I liked that.
I got to admit, out of all the cast for this, I've said this on this show a million times, I was the most worried about her portrayal. The one thing that kept me kind of even with both her and David Cornsweet is that James Gunn said that, you know, they had like 600, not like people who wanted to be Superman, but like 600 actual, like, okay, this is like actors that we are considering for this role. He said they shot with David on the first day, and he said he never considered anyone else. They went through more screen tests, but he was like, from the day they saw him, he was number one, and that he was always number one. And he said that they got Rachel on like the 5th or 6th day of casting. And I was like, well, in that case, like the chemistry must be on point. And yeah, the chemistry between them is awesome. And then she's awesome by herself. I thought she did a great job here. I was very happy to see that, you know, they avoided so many pitfalls that people have fallen into with like the lead kind of heroine type, role in these movies, whether it's like the Flash, where like they don't even put them in the movie really, or, you know, it's like some of the Spider-Man movies where it's like the damsel in distress thing over and over and over again. Like they just kind of wander around the movie and get into precarious situations for the hero to save them from. No, I mean, she was portrayed as like an actual person with flaws and fears and strengths, and I thought it was tremendous.
This isn't really a spoiler, but it's something that I really appreciated. She makes a lot of sugar in her coffee.
She did.
And I do too.
Yeah.
No, that was gross.
That was so great. I was like, yes.
If I have a casting complaint, it might be that I just wanted more Wendell Pierce as Perry White in this movie.
Yeah, Wendell Pierce, he was great as Perry.
I loved him.
Yes.
He was
Yes.
so great.
I'm a huge fan of his anyway. Like, I'll watch something just because he's in it. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, right, that, like, back to back, like, he had a big role in Thunderbolts, and then he was also in this.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
heard his voice before I saw his face, and I was like, is that... Oh, because I didn't know that he was going to be in it, and I was like, oh, he's perfect for Perry. I love that.
Yeah, he was great. Yeah, I thought that Rachel Brosnahan, I thought she did a really great job as Lois as well. And I'll be honest, like, Lois is a character that I never really cared for, which makes it hard to be a Superman fan when you don't really like Lois that much. But I think that this might be my favorite on-screen interpretation of the character.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, like, just to piggyback off what you guys said, she wasn't the traditional damsel in distress. and to be honest, Lois, only every once in a while is she ever really a damsel in distress. I mean, because why would she be, you know?
Right.
But here they avoid that, and pretty well, which I thought was great. And yeah, she's got her own shit going on, her own shit to work through. And I don't know if this is a pro or con, but as always, I find myself wondering, why does Superman want to be with her? I'm like, all right, man, whatever, you do you. But yeah, so I really don't have much in terms of complaints about her as well. So I thought she was great.
Yeah, I mean, there's now that I think about it, I think that she is probably somewhere in between Erica Durance and Terry Hatcher as far as like where her Lois lands. I really would love to see her, and that they're not going to do this anytime soon. But like, I think Flashpoint, her Lois's role in that, I think she would absolutely kill it.
Yeah.
If they really make the movie, good
right.
and and follow the, very well liked comic.
We're gonna have to give that another 10 to 15 at least.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, we probably get another Dark Phoenix before we get another Flashpoint.
Oh dear Lord. Let's talk about the Justice Gang.
Yes.
Okay, so I enjoy the fact now that Nathan Fillion is also Hal and God. I think that is fabulous.
Oh wow, yeah, he is, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, because he's the voice of Hal.
Yeah.
But he now portrays Guy, so that's fun.
Wow, that's a record that I'm pretty sure only he is ever going to hold.
Oh yeah, I mean it's Nathan Fillion. He can have that record.
Right.
We'll give it to him. He's amazing.
Who's writing these latest Black Panther comics? We got to get him to be
Christopher Priest.
We got to get him to be Jon Stewart next.
Oh no. Taking more of my roles. Yeah. What you guys think of Guy Gardner?
I thought that he was the delightful asshole that he is in the comics, and his hair definitely continues to suck. So that was delightful.
I love that the hair was such a purposeful thing that James Gunn did, because like in more current, and by current I mean like within the past 15 to 20 years, Guy, he's had like the kind of like the shaved side, like the faded look, that looks a whole lot better than the bowl cut that he has in the older comics. But James was like, nope.
No, we're staying true to the original source material here.
It goes so well.
It just added. It was great. I loved it.
I really liked him the whole time. Well, not the whole time, but about half the time, I was like, man, I kind of want to see Woody Harrelson play this character.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
I think that'd be hilarious. But no, for this movie, he really killed it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I really also enjoyed Isabella Merced as Hawk Girl. It was also just really nice to see her on my screen and not in The Last of Us.
She's been on like kind of on a string of things. Wasn't she also... Was she in Madam Web?
She's in Madam Web. She's in... she was Dora, of course. And then there's another thing that she's in.
Yeah, there was something else pretty big that she was in.
Yeah, that's kind of...
And I forgot that the three of us reviewed Madam Web together. Oh my
Yeah.
We did.
I'm glad that this so far is a way better experience than that.
Wow, she's billed under Frank Grillo in this. Like, they put her way down the line.
I mean, I'll be honest.
Alien Romulus.
That's right. She was an Alien Romulus. That's
Yeah.
right. Yep.
She was great in that.
Yep. It does feel like she has the least to do out of the three members of the Justice Gang. With Guy being second and number one being Mr. Terrific.
Let's talk about
terrific.
Yes. I am so glad to see him back in the superhero spotlight. The last time that we saw this actor in a superhero movie was X-Men First Class, where he had the most pointless death of like any kind of superhero. He played the character Darwin, who's
Oh, that is him,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, that was
Oh my
him.
gosh. Okay, yeah, that was pointless.
yeah. His mutant ability is to adapt to anything. Like, just to give you guys an example, in the comic books, he comes across the Hulk, and the way that his mutant power adapts is it teleports him to the other side of the planet. So, like, if you shoot him, he, is adamantium skull or whatever he needs, If he falls off a cliff, his bones will turn to jelly or his organs will, like, things happen so that he adapts and survives. And so the way they kill him off in First Class is just so ridiculous. So I'm glad to see him make such a phenomenal redemption in a superhero movie as Mr. Terrific here. I thought he was incredible.
He was. I loved how he was calm smarts. He was very confident, and I appreciated that very much.
And I mean, I was probably the most worried about this character out of all the heroic type characters in the movie, because you have to worry about like how his powers are going to be portrayed. Thought he absolutely killed it. I'll be honest. I think he could have his own like either spin-off show or even movie at this point.
I want his jacket.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think he's going to be around for a while.
I hope so. He's a really cool character, and like that's the cool thing about having James Gunn be at the head of something like this is James Gunn loves the obscure. And Mr. Terrific isn't necessarily obscure, but he was never a character that was brought into the spotlight like this. And so it was great to have him in this movie.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing them kind of maybe use him in like a Coulson type role and have him kind of like be the through line, like whatever
That
the
would
next,
be fun.
yeah, whatever the next movie is. He's like, yeah, I'm here on the behalf of the Justice Gang. Oh, God damn it.
Although it seems like Frank Grillo's Rick Flag is going to be more of the guy who does that.
Yeah. He's not in the movie a ton, but what he is in the movie is pretty good.
Yeah. I'll say this also about Mr. Terrific. He might have. I'd have to see the movie again, but if not my favorite, then probably my second favorite fight scene is the Mr. Terrific fight scene.
Oh, that was a delightful fight scene. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah. That there's always going to be a scene in the movie, sometimes multiple scenes, but at least one where like James Gunn's going to kick up the soundtrack and do some cool shit. Mm-hmm. And, he's a beneficiary of that here. So
yes. We haven't spoken about crypto. and I don't mean the currency.
I love crypto. Crypto's adorable and amazing and such a good boy.
Is he?
Yeah, he's the best boy.
Okay. We should have brought in the popcorn bucket.
Oh,
I know the popcorn bucket is so freaking cute, y'all. It was adorable. And I had the popcorn in and Crypto was protecting it, and it was so great.
Junior wouldn't have liked that.
Yeah, Junior kind of likes being the only popcorn bucket on the show. Yeah. So.
Well, Junior can just dill.
I don't know. He's got a lot of vodka in those bottles. He probably can just dill. So I think the concerns, right, for me and probably for you too, was like, is there going to be too much crypto in this movie? I think I could have probably dealt with about 85% of the crypto that we got. If that is a through line again, I think it will be it. I think it's I don't want to see this much Crypto in a movie again, but I was fine with it here.
You heathen.
I'm just saying, you know, I want it. I don't want the franchise to be about Superman's dog.
It's okay. First off, Crypto is not necessarily Superman's dog.
Yeah, but we can't talk about whose dog because it's a spoiler. But like, no, not that it's not his dog is not necessarily a spoiler, but like whose dog it is a spoiler.
Okay, if we're going in the context of this movie, sure, but we're...
Yeah.
I have things to say.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, because...
Oh, you're with her on this?
Well, no, actually, with the point as a whole, I'm with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But Crypto being Superman's dog.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, he you know, I mean, it's a Kryptonian dog. What can you say?
Yeah, I mean...
The thing about Crypto is this, right? I can see a universe where like I just hate everything about this goddamn dog.
Right, yeah.
And that's only like one universe away. It's not far. However, I think that the roles that Crypto served here was like you said. For me, it's probably about a good 75, maybe 80% if I'm feeling good that day that I can deal with. And then like the other, 20-25%, I think that we could have cut some of this Crypto stuff out.
Agreed.
No. Freaking love Crypto.
I think that most of his uses really made sense. And not only did it make sense, but like it wasn't just there for comedy, it was also there for context, and it was also there to maybe revisit later on for another plot thread. It meant something most of the time.
They did dumb down Crypto a little bit. They made him more pupper than he is in the comics. But it's okay, because he was a good pupper.
So we have different definitions of a good dog, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Very clearly. I was worried about Crypto when I saw them put him in the trailer. Like really, this is like what we're gonna put in the first trailer. We're gonna put Crypto in here. I was very worried because comic book movies have a tendency to have a cute, cuddly creature character and then overuse the shit out of it. And James Gunn is not immune to this because he did it in Guardians 2. This is nowhere near the amount of egregious that Baby Groot was in Guardians 2. So,
Baby Groot is adorable and amazing. Forever will be so cute and treasured.
Mm-hmm. He's also the reason Guardians 2 is the least of the Guardians.
I don't care.
and you're not alone in that. We're probably in the minority.
We are.
Yeah,
but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Who else is there in the cast that we can speak about in this half?
I think we're probably good
Jimmy?
on. Yeah, Jimmy Olsen was serviceable. Mm-hmm. He's not my favorite Jimmy Olsen, but I didn't hate him or anything.
No, my favorite Jimmy is the one from Lois and Clark.
Oh.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I also really like the one from Supergirl.
For me, that's the funniest Jimmy Olsen for all the wrong reasons. I'm like, y'all really did a big one with this one.
Because it's the dude from True Blood, isn't it? Isn't it the same guy?
Is that the same guy? I never watched True Blood.
Oh, okay.
I didn't like that judgmental look you just gave me.
No, it wasn't judgmental. It was just like genuine, like kind of shock.
Oh,
it was also slightly judgmental.
Thank you.
Was it? That's nonsense.
It's not nonsense. There's judgment there. I heard it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was just, I always thought it was just hard for me to buy him as Jimmy Olsen when Jimmy's, supposed to be this kind of like a semi-annoying, pestering guy who serves a purpose, but, he's the lovable little guy around the office, but he finds a way to get things done, and then you get this fucking... this fucking model of a man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like Jack. Have you seen Supergirl, the show?
I've watched a little bit of Supergirl, but
he's like...
I never really got into it that much, so...
So he actually was Jax in the Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh, yeah.
And he was Eggs in True Blood. Yeah, same guy.
Eggs?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That man is beautiful.
Yeah. He's like
He
this.
is not. He is not a Jimmy Olsen at
That's
all.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's who plays Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl.
That guy is. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Him. That's Jimmy
Maybe
Olsen.
you don't remember who I'm talking about. Let me pull up a photo.
Oh, I remember.
No, I'm thinking maybe you don't. Like maybe I just need to pull it up.
I know who Eggs was. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes. He's delightful. He's a beautiful, beautiful human.
It's this guy, right? That's
Yep,
the same
it's
one.
that man. Yep.
Same one. Okay, I was
He's
just making sure.
delightful. He is not Jimmy Olsen though.
And that's what made it so damn funny.
Right.
But I thought he did a good job as a character too. So, but yeah, he's serviceable here.
He can't be plucky.
Yeah, it's just so. That's why for me it was always so funny that he was Jimmy Olsen. I don't know if the show meant it to be funny,
But it's funny.
but it's funny. Yeah.
Isn't the Smallville Jimmy Olsen?
Iceman.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then didn't he die? But he had a brother or something.
Well,
rather?
that actor has a twin.
Yeah, Scott Ashmore, and then the other Ashmore.
Yeah.
And Cal Kestis. Isn't the other one Cal Kestis?
No,
they just look alike.
they just look alike. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know, man. I always get it so confused with that guy because all three of them look like twins to me. And they're not even twins.
No.
Yeah, but they all three of them look the same.
Yeah,
and one of them's not even related to the other two.
Yeah, Cal Kestis. You just threw him in the mix.
I'm telling you, man, that guy looks just like
All
them.
right, okay. Maybe the casting was Iceman. Oh boy. Let's talk a little bit here about the plot. And again, it's not a whole lot we can say here because
The plot was plotting.
spoiler. Yeah, we got spoilers. Yeah. The plot be plotting, like
Yeah.
you said, Kate.
Yeah.
I thought that the plot here was pretty darn solid for what you want in an opening movie for a franchise character. It's nothing that's too over the top or complex, but at the same time, it's not something that's so wash, rinse, and repeat that you've seen so many times before. It's kind of a refreshing take on something that is somewhat familiar, but at the same time, it just feels a little bit refreshing the way that they played with it here.
I felt like they gave us... Okay, Superman is such a character that is ingrained in, honestly, our culture that James Gunn ran with it, assuming that we knew things about Superman. Yeah. And so he just kind of gave little nods to some things, but there wasn't a need for an origin story. We all know Superman. Mm-hmm. And so he kind of treated us as if we weren't a dumb audience, and I like that. Because I don't need another origin story again.
Look, man, I'm just saying they look the same.
Aaron Ashmore, that's the other one's name.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me see.
Okay, they look very. They could totally be related.
Yeah, okay, I can see it.
Yeah, 100%. Anyway, I agree, and I'm gonna just go ahead and mix the pacing in with this. Mm-hmm. The pacing is excellent. The plot never there's no point where you're just like, oh man, okay, well we got to sit through this now because James Gunn, like you said, he doesn't treat us like we're dumb, and he also treats audiences like they've sat through 45 superhero movies because just about everyone has. And so it's okay, we're not going to waste all this time trying to explain to you guys who freaking Superman is, because anybody who's watched this movie has seen either the Donner films, the unfortunate movies that came after the Donner films, Returns, Smallville, Man of Steel. You have seen some iteration of Superman before. There's no reason for us to just explain all this stuff to you. We're just gonna go. We're doing the damn thing, and we're gonna go.
Yeah, that did remind me of something here. James Gunn. This was a couple of days ago. He posted a tweet, I believe it was. Yeah, he says, and I quote. Well, no, the quote comes later. No, here you go. It says, I don't need to see pearls in a black alley when Batman's parents are killed. I don't need to see the radioactive spider biting Spider-Man. I don't need to see Baby Cal coming from Krypton. And he got people who agreed and people who disagreed. I understand both camps, but I think that where we are now, currently, we don't need to. But I don't think that it'll always be that way. I think that there will definitely be a time again when we will need to see these origins again. Because the last thing you want is to be desensitized to their origins and forget why those things are such a big deal in the first place. If we never see Peter get the message from Uncle Ben about power and responsibility, then you can kind of easily lose track of why Spider-Man does what he does in the first place. And so it's varying degrees, but I think that where we are now in the midst of this superhero era, we can probably do without. But at some later point, I think that we should probably definitely revisit the origins.
I think it depends on a couple things. Number one, how many times has it been done? I do not ever need to see, I don't ever need to see Thomas and Martha Wayne get killed again. And there'll be a caveat to that in just a second, but for right now, for the foreseeable future, it's been done. Superman's origin, there's literally a fucking 10-season television show about it. And it's been done to death. I think for the people who we've seen it a bunch of times, there's no need to do it again. If they do a Flash movie in this DC, yes, I'd like to see his origin. Because, outside of, in the movie space, it's only been done one time and it sucked. So, that's fine. I think a Hal Jordan, a Green Lantern movie, we need to see the origin. Cyclops, people who have...
That's surprising coming from you. I didn't think you liked Cyclops.
I actually really like the 97 Cyclops a lot. I think when we reviewed X-Men 97, it's probably the first thing that came out of my mouth actually was oh my God, Cyclops was cool.
Yeah, so. And even if it wasn't, I would have edited it so you said it a bunch of times.
Yeah, so I might as well. Yeah, when Marvel gets around to doing their X-Men, the ones that we haven't seen 90 times, fine. I don't need to see Wolverine get pumped full of adamantium again.
That's not fair, because the one time we saw it sucked.
We saw it 40 times.
We've seen flashbacks of him in a chamber.
That's
shaking.
what I'm saying. I don't need to see that.
Yeah, but we've only seen his when I say the origin, I mean the thing that encapsulates it and tells you why the superheroes the way they are.
And I also think too, if you're going to change it in some way, sure. But there's not really a need to show us the traditional Batman origin again. It's been done to death.
Change it how? Because that's where they get in trouble.
That is also what I was going to say.
I'm not saying I approve of the change. I'm just saying if you're going to change it, that'd be a reason to show it again.
Because they changed it in X-Men and Jubilee is just gone.
Yeah. Hey, that's why you don't fuck with the timeline, Barry.
Well, okay, what they did was they took Jubilee and then they took Rogue and they shook it up really big and then they just went poof.
Yep.
And then that was just weird. It was just weird. I did not like it. Rogue didn't have that type of relationship. Okay, whole private hole.
We've struck a nerve.
They fucked up Jubilee, and it made me mad.
Well, and those are characters that I would say yes, we absolutely when Marvel gets around to those characters, yes, show us the origins for them. But if you're gonna do Superman's standard origin, we don't need to see that for a long time. And I think in this movie, they do an amazing job of being the origin is really important. The origin is super important. Like you said, they do a great job of keeping the origin at the forefront of why it matters without taking you through the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess one more thing, they would move back on track here, but it's when James Gunn put out that tweet and I was going back and forth about the nature of these traditional superhero origins, it got me thinking at the time being, no, I don't need to see Uncle Ben get shot. But now I'm I don't even know if there's Uncle Ben in the MCU. So, it depends on how the story plays out as a whole, And I was just thinking, man, Pete didn't even get the power and responsibility thing until Aunt May died. I'm so why were you Spider-Manning in the first place? I need answers for Tom Holland's Spider-Man that have never actually been accounted for.
Well, see, they were gonna give you a
TV show,
a TV show,
and then they pivoted,
and then they were just like, nah.
It'll be something else.
They were like, but if we're gonna do that, we got to make the theme song really dope,
and it was,
yeah.
The theme song for that was delightful.
Yes.
It's easily the best thing about that show. Not that we hated that show. Go check out our review.
Yeah,
but
what was it called? Spider-Man.
Isn't it just Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man?
You're Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Yeah,
I like the animation style in that one too.
Yeah, it was good.
It's good. Check out our review, folks.
Absolutely. What you guys think of the action in this movie?
Loved it.
I thought that it was not okay. I know CG is kind of like a thing that's like all over the place in superhero movies, and it kind of has to be. But I felt like there was enough of interaction between people that it didn't get CG'd to death.
Yeah. I don't love, like the CGI is not perfect, right? But on the same note, like there were a couple issues with it. But for the most part, it was fine. I really liked the action in this. It managed to separate itself from the Snyder stuff significantly without, toning it down. Because, like, Superman is a guy who, if he wants to hit you like Omni-Man, he can. As a matter of fact, that's what when Omni-Man hits someone, that's what they're thinking about. It's like, oh, what if Superman punched you in the face? And so it's such a delicate balance that you have to walk, where it's like keeping in mind that this is a character who could do this to you, but doesn't want to unless they're made to. And I thought that they did a really good job with that. There's a variety of powers in this movie, and I think they showed them off really well.
Yeah, I thought the action here was pretty darn nifty. Again, this is the most comic book like action that we've ever seen from Superman, and again, I mean that in a positive way. What I liked about Man of Steel and that portrayal of Superman was like, what if these beings existed and they actually fucking fought on Earth? This is what would happen. But this is like, what if we plucked Superman from the comic books and just made these pages into its own world? And that's what we got here with this interpretation. And I don't know, call me a positive Pete. I like both. But what's really cool about this, though, is that, like, Superman could be having some kind of existential dread, and then there's, like, a giant monster just rampaging. Because, like, it's just Metropolis. This happens on the Tuesday.
Yeah, it's like, oh, man, I'm stuck on the 10. Yeah. There's a T-Rex.
Yeah, son of a... God, is that a... I don't know what that is. Some kind
Actually, that could happen in either of the last two movies we reviewed.
That's true. Yeah. Check out our review of Jurassic World Rebirth. Yeah.
Dinosaurs.
Let's talk about the humor in this. This is a James Gunn movie, so obviously there's gonna be laughs and whatnot. But the thing that people were worried about is James Gunn's humor going to fuck up the tone of a Superman movie? And that's a very legit concern.
Yes, I had that concern myself.
I don't think that it did, because he kept Clark wholesome and kind of upped the people that could be upped, like Guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the answer to your question is a resounding no. James Gunn's humor actually, I think, did really well here. I think he reined it in a lot. Like, I think this movie probably has less jokes in it than a typical James Gunn movie. Certainly less than Suicide Squad. Certainly way less than Peacemaker. It is, and I would say it's less than Guardians 3, and that probably was his most serious in tone.
But in all of those movies, it's surrounded by characters and who are that way. I mean, Suicide Squad, you've got Harley.
Right.
It's not going to be serious.
Right, yeah.
You've got basically the entire cast in Guardians, and it's kind of like he has that. But in Superman isn't, quirky like that, I guess. I mean, he is quirky, but not like Rocket,
Yeah. He doesn't make a joke of Superman to get a laugh out of the movie.
Right.
Yes. We were watching last night the episode of Hot Ones with Peter Dinklage on it. And they were talking about how he does a lot of very serious roles and whatnot. But if you listen to him talk about like the movies that he loves, they're all comedies. And he was just kind of asking him, kind of like, why is that? And he said that like when he gets a script, especially for a comedy, for him, it always has to be the characters in the movie do not know that they are being funny. And like that always is so important to him because like dropping a punchline in a movie just doesn't work, right? Because it really doesn't work in real life either, unless you're at a comedy club watching for the most part. And that really like stuck with me, and I think that's really applies here. There's no point where like there are points where Lois or Clark or Jimmy or even Lex will do something that is funny, but like they were not trying to be funny. We as the audience find it to be funny, and it takes an immense amount of talent to write that into a script, and then to film it and have it come across properly. But like our theater cracked up quite a few times.
Oh yeah. What you described there is like what I have been saying for years about Thor.
Yes.
Thor, I thought was really funny in the first Thor movie.
Yeah.
And it's because nothing he did was him trying to be funny. It was just him being him. But then you fast forward to Ragnarok and to Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder was awful.
Oh,
I'm sorry. You had a little nasally thing going on there.
Oh yeah, I say in Thor and in Love and Thunder, and those.
Okay,
Yes.
So the best part of any of those movies was when Stanley made his appearance, and he was like, "Please, kind sir, do not cut my hair." That's the highlight of those last two movies. Like that is the best part.
Shout out to Stan Lee.
Yeah.
But no, here we get like that same kind of humor, like from Thor 1 is what I'm referring to, where like it is in line with what the characters would do, but like you said, Caleb, the characters aren't trying to make jokes. And I mean, because I'll be honest, there's some shit that Lex does, as despicable as he is, some shit he does is just hilarious. And it's great because you can totally see a person like him doing some shit like this.
Yes.
There's only like one or two times in this where the humor does come in too soon and it undercuts like a serious moment or two.
Yeah.
But when you look at the ratio of like jokes in this movie, it's pretty well balanced out, and the moments where like the serious moments are undercut, it doesn't happen that often, but I did notice it a time or two.
Yeah, I agree. There's a couple times in this movie, and like I think that the runtime was cut down. There's a couple times in this movie where I kind of want something to have had a little more room to breathe.
I can think of one, but I can't talk about it without spoiling.
Yeah, like there's at least two to come to mind for me, and like I get why you want to keep it moving. Like the pacing is, I won't call it breakneck because that has a negative connotation where it's like, oh, you can hardly keep up with what's going on. This movie gives you enough time to process it, but it does not give you any time to take a breath before what comes next.
Yes.
It's like, oh, okay, we're doing this. Oh, well, all right, well, we're here now. Okay, we're here now.
Yeah.
You don't have any. There's no breathing room. And that is definitely a choice that they made. There's probably only just one or two moments, maybe a little more than that, where I just wanted the movie to just give me a little more time to just kind of bask in what they were trying to say. Yeah. So,
I think we can talk about the music, and then we can give this score. Yeah. I thought that the music in this was actually really subdued for a James Gunn movie. And
Well, the
the
soundtrack.
soundtrack was, yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, to a degree, the score was as well. Like, and I mean that in mostly in a good way. I did expect to hear that John Williams score a little bit more than what I did, but
When you heard it, it was impactful.
it was impactful.
They hit us with that Infinity War.
Yeah, a little bit.
Where it's like, we know you want to hear
Uh-huh.
it, and so we're going to keep it from you.
Yeah,
And when you do hear it, you're going to love it.
yeah.
But I'm right there with you. I was thinking that same thing. Like, there's a couple moments where I wanted it to
really, yeah.
I wanted them to punch through the wall with it,
yeah.
you know. But
But no, but like you said, also like the soundtrack, it's very subdued, surprisingly, for a James Gunn project. That took me by surprise.
you could tell he just had the pen and he was
Yeah.
like, and then like Beastie Boys could. Oh God,
shit.
okay.
Yeah,
Is this the first movie he's come out with in like forever that doesn't have a damn Beastie Boys track in it?
you know what? We have to watch it again and listen carefully. There's probably somewhere in the background.
Yeah, it's got to be hidden in there.
Jimmy's got a Zoom in a scene where he's listening to a Beastie Boys album.
Of course he does. Ready to score this thing?
Yeah, let's do the damn thing.
Who goes first?
Guest.
I get to go first. I
wanna
don't
go-
want to go.
you wanna go first?
No, you go first.
You went first on Rebirth.
I think I did.
Okay. All right, folks. Out of the people in this room, I'm the least Superman fan. Not maybe over the last few weeks, but just in general in my life, I've never really maybe understood this character until very recently. When I watched the Christopher Reeve documentary, I started to really understand like the hope and symbolism aspects of the character and what they were meant to inspire. And I think a lot of that is because the Superman that I grew up with, like that I, in popular media, outside of Smallville was just like, hey, he can hit people really hard. Zack Snyder really wanted us to understand that about Superman. This movie has all of it. It has the hope. It has the inspiration. It has the character's flaws. It has the character's fears. And he also can hit people really fucking hard. He's got all of that. And I really just enjoyed that. I enjoyed the supporting cast. I gotta say, there was so much writing on this movie for me as far as like expectations and like, can DC work on the screen? So this movie's got to do two things, right? Like it's got to reestablish Superman as like a box office powerhouse and like a known entity, right? And it also has to jumpstart the DC universe. And I think it does a great job at both of those things. I'm gonna give this one a 9.2.
That is incredible. So I am a Superman fan. I finally completely turned that corner and came out of the Superman closet. I came out of the Superman phone booth. Yeah,
That's better.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll give myself one of these.
Good job.
Yeah, everybody gets one. Yeah, this is maybe 5 years ago or so, around about. As a matter of fact, it was around the time that I first read Doomsday Clock, which is a story that we'll be covering here sometime in the near future. But Doomsday Clock is a Watchmen sequel, but in actuality, it just masquerades as a Watchmen sequel. It's really at its core a Superman story, and that's really kind of when I turned the corner. And then I started reading more Superman content, and then I realized, oh, okay, I see. And then it really finally clicked in for me, and then I couldn't stop kind of consuming his content. This movie, I can't say this enough, it continues to impress me with how much it is such a superhero comic book movie which is a weird statement to say about a superhero comic book movie. But, we live in a day and age where these studios get more and more choosy about what they want to pick and choose to be a superhero movie. And so when you get something that really is just like true to form, it is refreshing, and it shows that this can be for more than just the comic book nerds. This type of content can be for everybody. And they really do a great job of showcasing women. Superman's so great. A great job of the hope, a great job of like the internal conflicts that he has on the regular basis, and just trying to understand his place in the world. They do such a great job with all of that. The pacing is great. I think that the tone of this is spot on for what you want, and the tone is really what is interpreted from All-Star Superman.
Yes.
The humanity is what's taken from Superman for All Seasons. And his relationship with Lex is taken from both those incredible books. So I think that this movie is it is what you truly want from a Superman movie. I think it has something in it for everybody who is a comic book fan, for everyone who is a Superman fan. Ironically, I had this score picked out on the way back from the theater. I also had it scored at a 9.2.
Y'all are so silly with your points.
You just do enough of these, and you just watch a movie, and your brain just goes, "It's that."
Yeah.
It's that.
I'll say like, the homie Kyle and I, we had a discussion where we both predicted like the Rotten Tomatoes score, and then also like we said we would message each other after the movie and tell what our scores would be. And when I messaged him, when I sat down in here, he said, I just got out of my showing. What's your score? And I actually said, I said a 9, and I said, but over the next hour that may change, but it's not going to change a lot. Yeah. It could have gone to an 8.7, maybe a 9.3. It could have landed anywhere in there.
Okay, my turn now.
It's your turn.
Okay, so when I was younger, I spent a lot of time at my dad's shop. He was a mechanic, and he had a shop with my grandfather, and my grandfather had a lot of superhero comics, but just random ones. They were not in any sort of order. The one that he had the most of was Superman. So I read a lot of Superman comics completely way out of order, like Doctor Who style. You don't know what's going on, but it made sense and made little 6-year-old me very happy. And so, I don't know, I feel like this movie brought me back to that feeling, and I very much enjoyed being able to see that in motion instead of just in my head. So, I also very much enjoyed Crypto. I do wish that he was a little bit more intelligent, like he is in the comics, but I'll take Happy Pupper Crypto any day. So I'm gonna give it a 10 because it was like yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I think this would probably be one of my favorite superhero movies of like that I've ever seen. So
I'm not mad at that at all.
Yeah.
I
think that's an excellent choice.
Because I don't have too many things that I can complain about. Whereas with like other superhero movies, they usually fuck up my favorite characters. And so
I hope Madam Web was never your favorite character.
No.
Okay, good.
No.
This is the most times in a movie where like I've ever been like where I've just been like fuck yes, like something will happen on the screen, I'll be like please don't, and then James Gunn won't, and I'll be like just there were so many times in this movie where I had that reaction, you know, and it made me genuinely happy. I would catch myself like grinning at points during this movie, and that doesn't happen often, Yeah.
Anytime that something can bring me back to like little 6-year-old Caressa felt, is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And this brought me back to that happy nostalgic feeling, and didn't do it in a way that made me feel like I was a 6-year-old child, but it kind of like made me feel like I was an adult re-experiencing something that was perfect.
Yeah.
For the longest time, the only superhero movie I had that made me feel that way was Batman Forever. And because I'm a huge Dick Grayson fan. And his part of that movie is amazing.
So how big a fan of Dick Grayson you got to be to like look at Forever and be like, this is the pinnacle of...
Enough that now 20 years later, I'm like, man, I really wish someone made me feel like I felt when I watched Batman Forever for the first.
I hope I don't feel that way anytime soon.
I honestly haven't really liked much that DC has put out since The Dark Knight and all that. Like, that was top. That was pinnacle. And then it just kind of went downhill. They kind of held on to it a little bit with animated movies. Like, they kept me with that. But then I really hated all the Snyder stuff. And I kind of hated how the TV shows that they had, either they destroyed what they had to work with that was amazing, or it became so almost watered down like Smallville did at the end, where they just kept doing seasons, but it was time. It was time for Superman to be in the suit. It was time for, and they just kept going, because that was one of the things with Smallville, is that they were never going to, Clark was never going to fly, and he wasn't going to be in the suit.
Did John Peters write this?
Well, they really should have, they really should have done like a half season for 9, because they were like, they did Doomsday, they did Death of Superman, and like that was like the really big thing where it's like, okay, we have to do Doomsday. And they really didn't, because like you said, that's the crux of the prequel is you can't do the thing. So like Doomsday like went to sleep or whatever, and someday, wink wink, nod nod, he will show up and kill Superman, but not today.
Not today. Today is not that day.
And they were like, well, what if we did another Zod season? And don't get me wrong, like I actually think the second Zod season
wasn't James Marsters Zod?
Yeah,
I love James Marsters.
Yeah, like the second Zod, it was better. Like the Zod, part 2, was better than the first. But like, wrap that shit up. Do half a season of that if you got to do it, and then spend the last half wrapping it up. Instead, they gave us that awful season 10 that was like a giant filler nothing burger.
Well, that was also, I feel like the theme of shows during that time period. Yeah. They wanted 24 episodes instead of doing 10 really good episodes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so they did that, I think, just to keep the paychecks coming in and to feel that out, which kind of took away from a lot of its magic, and it makes things water down. And I think now people appreciate that. Give me all of the cool. Yes. I don't need necessarily, I don't need a beach episode.
Well, TV has changed a lot, right? So like, back in the day, like CW comes to you and this is something from that Talkville podcast too. They spent a month shooting the pilot for Smallville, which is why it looks so good for something that came out in 2001. After that though, they have 10 episodes or 10 days to turn an episode around. So it's like I think they have I think they said 2 days of what they call reset, where all the sets and everything get moved in and out of the sound stages and studios and all that, location changes and things like that. So that's all like crew work. And then they have 10 days to turn around an episode, and then they do another reset, and then they do it again. So it's like, yeah, the pilot was such a well thought out and much better thing because they had a month to shoot it. Versus, okay, well, now we're on the grind. But back then, you shoot a pilot, you turn your script in, they go, okay, we'll finance a pilot. You shoot a pilot, they go, okay, we'll give you a season order. And then CW goes, well, we want 22 episodes. And then you have to go make that. Whereas now, Netflix goes, okay, make the thing. How many episodes do you think it's going to be? Oh, 9? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that is one benefit to streaming now, is you don't have to slot everything into those like time periods where not every story needs 22 hours. As a matter of fact, very few do not.
I think we're ready now to do some moseying. So, homies, if you are still here, you have a few minutes to take a pause break or to go and do something else if you don't want spoilers, because we're gonna mosey on and we're gonna have some other discussions here really quick. But then we're going to rematerialize even at the spoiler-filled door where all things spoilered will be discussed. So I want to talk about something that's actually in line with the movie we just watched. Something that sounds like parody, something that I thought was parody, but is actually reality. Because sometimes life is funnier than fiction, and that is people are good friends who like the MAGA stuff. They are upset about Superman, this movie, having ties to immigrants, and it's kind of a storytelling structure that supports immigrants in this country.
What's really funny is Fox News ran a segment about how this movie has like a pro-immigrant message and like how that's awful. And like how, we don't go to the theater to be preached to, blah, blah, blah. And it was so similar to the actual segment with Lex.
Yeah. And that's what I said. Like, it felt like parody.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
But it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like this, right? It's like Superman came out in 1938. Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, two Jewish men who immigrated to America. Superman's been around for 87 years. If you haven't caught on yet that his story has always been about being an immigrant, then you either haven't been paying attention or you never cared until now. All of a sudden, this is your opportunity to present this as a talking point.
It's probably that one because, I mean, why would they do research?
That's true.
Well, it's like people that are being like, "Oh man, X-Men is woke." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dog. Like y'all were the villains in X-Men the whole time.
Yeah.
Magneto was right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that like Magneto was like written as like kind of the villain of that series, and then like over time he just kind of resonates more and more with people to the point that in like 97 he's basically just an anti-hero now. Like, he's not even a villain in that shit.
So, Magneto, I always kind of look at him as, like, at the beginning, yeah, he is a villain. But it's also kind of like a child, you know? Like, you don't understand.
Children are villains.
Yeah. You don't understand how things are, you know? Like, you're a little bit like, you got the rose-colored glasses on. Life is amazing. Life is great. I get to go outside and ride my bike. And life is great. And then the older you get, the more you start to see, like, oh, my parents are kind of, like, struggling a little bit. What are bills? And then you get your own little things where I have to take a test. And, you know, real life starts to hit you a little bit more, and suddenly riding your bike isn't as cool as it used to be. And then that's kind of the way that it was for Magneto, is, like, over time, your rose-colored glasses are going away, and you're seeing life for what it really is.
I think whether you consider, like, whether you feel like he's a villain or not really depends on at what point in time you check in with Magneto. Because, like, you see him as a little kid, you're like, he's a fucking Holocaust victim. Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously you're going to feel some empathy for that character. And then you go to, like, you know, him at probably, like, 20, where you're like, oh no, you know? And then... Yeah. Yeah, instead of like riding my bike, it's like, oh, I can go out here and destroy cities.
Yeah, well, it's like you go from him as like a little kid, you know, in a concentration camp, like, oh no, this is not a villain, this is a victim, and then you fast forward to him being like, why not just kill all humans? Yeah. And then you're like, I think, you know, maybe not.
It's like, maybe I missed something here. Can I rewind?
There's a song that I really love. It's called "Villains Aren't Born, They're Made," and I always think that of like Magneto in that because like. I think, and with a lot of villains in general, I don't think that they would be the way that they are unless they had a lot of the things that happened to them happen. And so the reason that they're reacting the way that they are is because of their past. And while some people, they can do that and kind of like go through things, and they're not going to go around and kill everybody. Other people, you know.
Yeah, I've always argued that the only difference between the hero and the villain is how they react to the thing that makes them that. So we see. You look at comic books, for example. A lot of times, the hero and the villain, they'll have very similar origins. They turn out so different because of how they react. The hero thinks, "Oh my gosh, this tragic thing happened to me, and I want to make sure that this never happens to anyone again." And the villain typically thinks, "Oh my God, this tragic thing happened to me. I'm going to make sure that everyone burns who's responsible for this." And so it's like their reaction to the trauma that happens to them is kind of what eventually defines them as the either quote unquote hero or villain.
Yeah. I don't remember what it's from, but either you die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. What is that?
That's Nolan.
That's Dark Knight.
Yeah, Dark Knight. And I feel like that's really true because and that's like in life. People at the high are always gonna, people are gonna find something to bring someone else down.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned Nolan earlier, and that kind of got me thinking about something. It's like, we talk about this a lot. Hollywood always has the wrong reactions to shit. And while, the Nolan trilogy is obviously like grade A superhero fare. I mean, Batman Begins is by far my, favorite Batman, film. Once again, Hollywood always has the wrong reactions to things. Like, those movies are, especially the first two, right, are very much not comic book type movies. They're very grounded and gritty, and they're very much like what if we took this comic book character and stuck him in like a realistic version of like a Gotham City? The third movie gets a little more comic booky, especially when you look at it next to the other two. But what Hollywood took from that is like, people want these very grounded stories that don't feel like a comic book. We can't introduce an audience to that. Or things like people saying that, like Amazing Spider-Man 1 was a great movie until the giant CGI lizard shows up on the screen. The problem isn't that there's a giant CGI lizard in the movie. The problem is that the plot that revolves around that lizard is nonsensical. He's like, well, I'm a lizard, and I'm going to turn everyone else into a lizard. And that's it. And he's like, I will not elaborate.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so accurate.
I mean, he doesn't have to. If you don't want to elaborate, he doesn't have to.
Yeah, no elaborate.
Yeah, he doesn't have to explain his evil plans.
Yeah, lizard.
He can do what he wants to do. He's a lizard man.
It's just like how I was really worried that, like with Thunderbolts, like, with it not making anywhere near what, like, Disney wanted it to make.
Oh my goodness. I recently watched that movie because when it came out, I was in Tennessee and I wasn't able to see it. So I recently watched it and whoo, that movie, whoo, I had listened to y'all's review of it and I had watched a couple of other people's reviews. So I knew some things. Yeah. But watching it, man, geez Louise, that, it hit.
And I was really worried, Disney recently announced that, like, the director of that movie is going to do X-Men. And I was just like, I was very relieved by that because I was like, oh God, the movie didn't meet expectations. They're gonna bury this director. We're never gonna see any of these characters again.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting another shot. He better give me a real fucking third act for the X-Men movie though.
Yeah, I agreed. And I didn't know this, but John Watts, that did the Spider-Man trilogy, was originally on to direct this new Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
and he was like, yeah, they offered it to me. He's like, but I was so burnt out from spending like the last 8 years making back to back, just like these big blockbuster movies. He's like, I just couldn't do it.
Wow. I'm glad you said no.
Yeah, he was like, I was just so burnt out. There's no way I could have given the movie like what it deserved or whatever. And I was like, mad respect for that
because now people are just like, oh, let's run this into the ground, basically. So kudos to him for being like, I won't do it justice.
Right, yeah. I mean, Because, like, one minute you're putting out, like, Rogue One, and the next minute you're putting out Jurassic World 75 Dino Boogaloo. You know?
That's a great name.
Let me not say it too loud.
Yeah, they might use that.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah, we'll have to copyright that. Trademark.
Have we moseyed enough?
I think we have moseyed enough.
Mosey.
All right, folks, if you're still here after this, you either have seen the film already or don't care about spoilers.
I get to talk now.
Yes.
That's right. All right, here we are. Motherfucking Cara Zor-El. Yes. I was so happy about that. I almost stood up out of my seat.
Cara.
So to bounce off what you were saying earlier, Kay, it was actually reminiscent of a conversation that we had on our Superman preview. And I just, haphazardly said, well, like, Crypto isn't even really his dog, it's Kara's dog. So, and I mentioned the story that they're basing her movie off of, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I pulled it off the shelf and I said, in this story, she's on a different planet with a red sun getting shit-faced. And that's how that story starts. And lo and behold, here she comes stumbling in, drunk off her ass, here to get her dog. And I was like, oh shit, well, I haven't seen this movie at the point, but that was it was very, very on point.
First off, I love Millie anyway. Like, she's an incredible actress. Like, stole every scene she was in House of the Dragon. As soon as she was gone, everybody was like, ugh. And don't get me wrong, the other actress for Rhaenyra did grow on me, but it took a while. Versus, like, when Millie showed up in episode 1, I was like, cool, I fucking want to know everything about this character. Let's go.
I honestly haven't seen the second half of the first season because of that. I just could not get into I needed Millie back.
It took
I never minded, but I get it.
No, so, like, for me, it's like from the moment, and not to turn this into the House of the Dragon review, but we do have that if you want to go listen to it. But, like, I loved her until the time jump, and then it took until the finale for me to actually feel like the second actress was playing that character. I was like, she's doing well, but I never felt like they were the same character until the finale and then forward.
So because I have seen Millie Acock play Rhaenyra, I know that she is capable of playing Cara.
Yes.
Because Cara, she's very serious in some ways, and she's kind of gritty. She's also the drunk bitch just stumbling in to get her dog. Mm-hmm. And so I think that she's going to be able to show that because Cara's duty, the whole reason she's here, she's out of place now.
Yeah. Her purpose that she was supposed to serve no longer needs to be filled. So she's way too late.
So what is she supposed to do?
Yeah.
And go to a red sun and get drunk off your ass.
Because, like, in most of the mythology, right, like, she originally was supposed to take care of Clark.
Yeah.
But she got caught in, like, a time vortex or the negative zone, whatever,
she got delayed. Just like Crypto did.
Yeah, her train was late, and so, like, she's actually younger than him because of the time dilation. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, well, I guess I'm going to get fucked up then. Yeah. There is another version of her origin where what's the city?
Kandor?
Yeah, isn't there like another version of that where like her parents are actually on Kandor?
I think so. Yeah.
And like her thing was like she's actually supposed to like find a place for it.
Yep.
So that's I'm kind of glad they're not going with that. But I do like both origins for her. Not the fake Cara they did in Smallville though. Like, that was awful.
Oh, I forgot she was in that, huh?
Yeah. Well, no. So, like, Laura, is it Vanderhorst? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She was great. I mean, like, they originally did a Cara that wasn't real.
Yeah.
That was just, like, telling Clark she was Cara. And
she wasn't.
And she wasn't.
So weird.
How did she know about Cara then?
Because Jor-El, like, basically, like, brainwashed her to try to manipulate Clark.
Oh, okay.
And be like, just show up and, like, I'm from Krypton. And actually, that was Adrienne Palicki that's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It played her in that in Smallville.
It was weird. Smallville did some weird things.
They
made
weird
choices.
Also, Bradley Cooper as Jor-El.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Yeah. They did a good job with him, like of making it not like super obvious that it was him, but I mean clearly
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's him.
It's the eyeballs.
But I lost my
Yours it
shit
is.
when Kara showed up. And, she called Kal-El a bitch, and I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, yeah, that was wonderful.
Holy shit. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting family dynamic. I know this much. This is for the comic book nerds out there. If Doomsday ever shows up, she better stay the fuck away. There's an image where she gets like her face knocked off.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not pretty. Good news is it wasn't really her, but comic books.
He really could have used her at a bunch of points in this movie.
He could use a lot of things at a bunch of points in this movie.
Because, she's technically stronger than him. So, there's quite a few scenes here where having her be there would have been real nice for him.
Yeah.
So Hayden Christensen is Ultraman. I'm telling you, when he first takes the thing off, I'm like, Hayden Christensen? No, okay. It's just David Cornswell with the wig.
Yeah.
No, I was there with you too. I was like,
Yeah. I was like, this motherfucker got some real Anakin Skywalker vibes right now.
I was like, Annie, what are you doing here?
Yeah, being evil as fuck again. And you're going to lose this fight. First lava, now black hole, you know.
Yeah, just no winning.
Also, that was a mistake, man. Like, that motherfucker's not dead in there.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. That bitch's coming back.
Yeah, no, Ultraman is just going to get sucked into that black hole, and it's just going to compress him for however long until someone, Lex, digs him out of there.
Yeah, he'll really show up looking like Bizarro,
That's actually probably what they'll do.
Yeah.
That's probably how they'll Bizarro.
I'm holding on to my Bizarro Ultraman theory until it comes true.
I mean, it would make sense. It's a layup at this point. You know? I liked the way they went with Ultraman. I mean, they gave it away at the fortress. Like, if you had any doubt,
because it's like, how else are you gonna get in there? Because as soon as we saw that, okay, this version of the Fortress of Solitude is activated by DNA, not by a giant heavy ass key.
Yeah.
So as soon as you saw there was no heavy, which I'm surprised James Gunn didn't do a giant heavy ass key.
Maybe he'll change it now.
Yeah, because the DNA, they know that's right. They have an end. So,
I mean, Ultraman could have got in there too, though.
That's true. But then that really would have been like, how did he pick that up? How strong is he? So something else that I forgot to mention, I should say, and I'm still processing how I feel, but so far I'm just kind of meh on it. Gotta be honest, man. Ma and Pa Kent, I'm just, they didn't really do a whole lot for me in this movie.
I think so. Ma Kent is definitely more played for laughs than anything else. And I think there's layers to that, right? Like, after, season after season of Annette O'Toole, right? That's hard. And I don't know the name of the actress that played Martha in the Snyderverse, but she also was that same sort of, like, very, like, loving and caring, like, maternal, Martha Kent. Until fucking Zack Snyder ruined her name forever. But you mean your mama's name is also Martha? Fuck.
That's not the point of that scene.
I know it digs at you.
Most people don't understand the point of that scene, but it's not.
I do understand it, and I still hate it.
Yeah.
So
well, I get it, and it's like, I don't see what the big deal is, but we can move on.
I think it's the way it's shot. I think it's just silly the way that they shot it, to me.
All right, so we can move on.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway. But yeah, after seeing, there's so much subculture with, like, that kind of Martha Kent, and then you get this one that's very much, like, played mostly for laughs. It is jarring, but I will say on the Jonathan Kent part, if you yeet a child into like middle of nowhere Kansas, you're probably going to end up with this guy and not John Schneider. Just realistically.
I mean, okay.
So as a country bumpkin, I knew people like them.
Yeah.
So the fact that they are his parents, I mean, it didn't bother me any. I do think that they could have expanded a little bit on them, made them a little bit more than just country bumpkins that talk to the coffee table.
That would have helped.
That was hilarious though, because I have seen my mother do that. So it was also like, been there.
It's like, for me, the bridge that was missing is I don't see how they raised him to be that.
I think what you needed to, when they're outside and he's talking to Jonathan, that's how they raised that.
Yeah, that's the scene for me.
Yeah, that was, and again, like it's not fair, but it was only one scene, and the way that it came off to me was like, it didn't feel like something like a conversation that they had plenty times before. It felt more like, this is something I should have told you, son, about how I feel about you.
Well, I think the movie kind of leaves us to interpret that maybe he was pretty hard on Clark. It just is, I mean, most versions of Jonathan Kent are, very like, kind of traditional and like kind of very hard on Clark. And I didn't really get the opinion this is like maybe this is the first time his dad ever said he was proud of him or whatever. But to me, it came across as like a reassurance thing to him where it's like, it doesn't matter at all what's on that recording. Like, you are the son that I raised, and you've made me extremely proud. So you can't be this person that your birth parents wanted you to be. And that's how it came across to me. And I thought that scene was incredible. I would have loved to have seen more from Jonathan.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of how I felt in Man of Steel. I was like, get this person off my screen immediately.
Well, they did.
Yeah. I was like, is that a tornado? Oh, okay. Well, it is in Kansas.
Yeah, they didn't really hit for me. I don't know. Maybe they do a sequel and they kill John. Maybe then, like, I don't know.
I mean, obviously, like, the finale of the movie is where they really hit to me, because it's like that moment was so powerful. Like,
you see how he was like holding on to something that he didn't know, and then at the end you get to see how he's holding on to stuff that he does know. Yeah, and it feels like he listened to Jonathan. And
that part I dug. I really like that.
Because like the finale of the movie isn't him beating Ultraman in the fight. Right. That's the obstacle. The finale is the culmination of his character arc in this movie, which is, how do I go from being this, fish out of water that, is really looking to like my Kryptonian heritage and trying to make sense of all that and like, who am I, to the culmination of the arc here, which is, I am Clark Kent. This is who I am. And, me being from Krypton is part of me, but it doesn't define me. And that is the thing that I think so much Superman media has always missed out on, except for maybe like the Richard Donner Superman,
And I mean, the Richard Donner Superman, to that point, there was no interaction really with his parents. Yeah. It's like, and he was raised by these nice people in Kansas, and then his dad died. And he's in Metropolis now.
You get that one scene with his mom, and you're like, this is a nothing throwaway scene.
Yeah. We haven't talked about the engineer, Angela. This was interesting.
I didn't mind this role, but it also, to me, is just kind of, this role is more plot than anything. Yeah,
it was interesting. Like, I thought that it turned out to be more than what it was with her. She is in DC Comics. Technically, it was a Wildstorm comic book, but Wildstorm got bought out by DC. And it's in the book called The Authority. It's one of these behind me that you guys can't see. There it
Oh,
is.
absolute authority. Yeah, there we go.
But that's where she comes from, and she's a good person. I've read book 1 out. Admittedly, I haven't read book 2, but unless she makes like a wild heel turn, I've never seen her as a bad guy. But I could tell by the trailers that she was going to be, obviously a villain. I just thought that maybe there'd be something else, like maybe Clark would get through to her.
Well, I mean, they have the setup for it.
Yeah. And I think a couple years ago, I think they announced that they are doing like an Authority, either TV show or movie. They've been quiet on that, but I do remember hearing James Gunn and Peter Safran say something to that extent. So
Clark beat the brakes off of her.
Oh yeah.
When he started spinning and like smacking her on the ground every time he would spin, I was like, and he just kept doing it. I was like,
bro, I've seen that in like a video game.
yeah, I was like, this is like where you give up.
Yeah.
If you're alive.
Video game. Lex calling out the moves.
Oh yeah.
It totally was a video game.
Let me tell you
to him.
that A1 was super effective.
It was.
It really was.
But that's where the humor kind of came in when he was like bantering with Superman, but then he would holler out a number.
Right.
That was kind of funny a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it was like when Lex was losing his shit and he would like knock something off the table like a fucking angry cat.
Yeah.
And he would like, clean that shit up, and then his crew would fix it up, and then he'd just do it again just to be a dick. I don't know why he's that way, but he is.
Because he can be. Yeah.
The scene I referenced earlier with him that just like really sold me on it. It's like it's the first time that they're watching on the screen, and they actually like get Superman where he's down, right? And like Lex thinks they're about to kill him, and he does this, like Nicholas Hoult does this thing where it's like his like mouth is like twitching, like he's like salivating over it, like if you were like on a starving desert island for a month and then I brought you like a medium rare T-bone. It's like the way you would look at that is the way he was looking at that monitor, like just years and years of my life has culminated to this moment. Like, we're going to get him.
He had an erection for sure.
Oh, yeah. No Blue Chew needed that night for Lex. He was full tilt. And, like, the engineer was, like, kind of like the most devoted of his cult, right? Mm-hmm. They mentioned, like, they gave up their humanity for this.
That line was impactful. For me, I was like, whoa, geez. Because in a way, it was kind of, I felt like a backhanded comment to Lex. She was like, yes, I know, dude. I gave up who I was to do this for you. Shut the fuck up and let me work.
Right. I know what to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this much also, like the way this movie was formatted in terms of like the events happened completely different from how I thought it was.
Yeah.
I didn't so when we first saw Superman crash into the earth, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get a flashback, and then we're going to come up to this point, and that's going to be like the third act. That's what I was thinking, but no, that's legit the start of the movie.
Yeah. What was up with the threes? There were so many threes at the opening.
All the threes.
Yeah, 300 years
300
ago.
years ago. No, it was 3,000 years ago, right?
No, 300. 3 centuries.
Okay, yeah, 3 centuries.
And then it's 3 years, 3 months,
Yeah.
3 hours, 3 minutes.
Yeah. So, and I want to talk about that too. So 300 years ago, the world discovered that there were metahumans. And I was trying to think, who the fuck could that have been, like, besides Wonder Woman and, like, the Amazons?
Had to be Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that'd be one of them.
Yeah, it had to be one of the main ones. And then they said 30 years ago, right? Was that the next one? 30 years ago, Clark landed on Earth.
Yeah.
And then 3 years ago, he became Superman.
Yep.
And
then it was 3 hours ago was the war.
Yeah.
And then 3 minutes ago, the hammer of Baravia.
Yeah, Baravia beat his ass.
Yeah. Which, that was interesting, right? Because we were like, there's so many villains in this movie. It looks like the hammer of Baravia, who the fuck that is. And it looks like Ultraman might be in it. And it looks like maybe Bizarro's in it. They're all the same.
Yeah, it's all the same. Yeah. Very true.
So, like, there's this TV show, and Rumpelstiltskin is in it. And so, like, every time that there's, like, this bad guy in a fairy tale or whatever, it always turns out to be Rumpelstiltskin. It's kind of like that.
Yeah. It's like, it was Clark all along, every time.
God damn it. Every time. Wasn't Mr. and Mrs. Pitterlick in the episode of Lois and Clark? It was like the Groundhog Day episode.
Yeah.
I don't know why they just randomly came to mind, because I've seen so little of that show, but I remember that episode.
Man, when they let that little fucking creature out, whatever that thing is, I was like, man, this is going to be really bad.
Oh, yeah.
Dude was like, oh, it's small now.
How about the scene where the Justice Gang is fighting the fucking Beholder thing in the background?
I loved that.
It was so funny.
It was, because Clark was at this point dejected and sad, and just like, ugh.
Like, they got it.
They got it. I don't really need to listen to Guy right now. They got it.
Yeah. Lois is just like, this is an important conversation we're having, Clark, but should you? And he's like, no, they got it. You just see Guy in the back with like a giant Green Lantern baseball bat. And he's just like beating them.
That was hilarious. Also, like, I know we're jumping around here a little bit, but like, when we first see Lois and Clark in her apartment together, right? And like they start making out, and Clark, he just starts saying shit because at that point, you're just trying to get your dick wet. And then I'm like, that is the most inopportune time for to ask for an interview, because he's gonna say yes, because I would have said yes, because I'm just saying what I need to say to get to where I'm trying to get.
I don't think it ended up that way.
It didn't end up that way, though, yeah. And that makes it even worse.
Look, man, you should have known that it was going to go that way, because, like, she's Lois Lane. She's not gonna give you a softball interview because, like, y'all are hooking up. Yeah,
and that's what he thought. And then, to be fair, like, I probably would have thought the same thing. Like, okay, yeah, go ahead and ask me, like, the puff piece questions.
Maybe this is a role play. Maybe this will lead into it. Yeah, go ahead and question me, Miss Lane. And he's like, wait a minute, this is not what I fucking thought it was. Don't ask me that.
It's like an actual hardball questioning.
You can't use half of this.
Yeah. I don't like this at all. That was a great scene, though. Like, seeing her ask those tough questions and him trying to defend himself.
It's a different cut than they put out for the trailer, and I like it better. Because that scene was in the trailer, but they're in the room where they do the interview the whole time, like, even when she originally brings it up, and I just thought it worked a lot better here.
Yeah. Really great scene. And again, like I said, in the spoiler-free section, I'm very surprised their relationship is working out the way that it is. But I'm always surprised that their relationship works out. I'm like, I don't.
Well, they addressed that in the movie, though, Lois.
Well, they mention it, but they don't,
So, okay, so Superman to me is always supposed to be like the generic, unoriginal, blends in type. Okay, like Clark is, all right? And it's the same thing with Crypto. That's why it's always like this, little random white dog, because it could be like any white stray dog, He is like your typical guy. He's also a bit of a nerd, we know that. So what is the typical nerd, like, stereotype go for his love interest? The person who is unobtainable, usually way out of his league. That will always be Lois. Lois, whether he's Superman or Clark or Kal-El, Lois is out of his league. And she knows it. He knows it. And that's part of their relationship, I think, is that there is an unbalance, and they're both fully aware of it. He might be strong, he can punch through walls, but she's Lois, and she's kind of got him by the balls, and he knows it. And I don't think he minds it either.
Yeah, I mean...
the OG toxic relationship.
I don't know that I would call it necessarily toxic, but they definitely got things to work on.
Yeah, I think when they work on themselves, their relationship will be better, but they both have a lot of shit that they need to figure out individually.
I definitely want to tell her that I'm Superman. Like, they've been dating 3 months.
Well, I mean, they're obviously smashing, so she's going to find out then.
Hey, look, if you just set the dick to like 2.
She's gonna be like, how much Blue Chew did you take before? I swear they're not a sponsor.
Yeah, all of it.
You're supposed to eat the whole pack, right?
Right. Oh no.
The amount of control he has to have anyway, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. That's a metric that I don't think we have the time or desire to talk about.
that's awful, man. You like land in Kansas, you're raised by a bunch of rednecks. The only person you can like safely go all in on is your cousin.
Jesus Christ. or your dog.
I took it here and you had to
No! Run away, Crypto! Run away!
look, you know, definitely not condoning that shit, but like that's dangerous as fuck. That dog is like evil incarnate.
Crypto is not evil.
Crypto's not evil, but he's chaotic. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think he listened to Clark one time during the movie.
Well, he is not Clark's dog.
That's true. I mean, his relationship with Kara didn't seem too great either.
No. That was love and trust.
Yeah, she's just like, yeah.
Plus, also, I mean, if we're gonna go with the smart Crypto, he might be a little pissed at Clark just because of Jarrell kind of used him as an experiment to see if things were gonna work right, and that's why he's there.
Yeah, well, you know, it worked.
It worked.
Maybe we'll in the Supergirl movie they'll fast forward and like Crypto actually will be like smarter and he's like the responsible one out of the two of them.
So, I'll be honest here, and no spoilers, even though we're in the spoiler filled section. If they're basing it off that book, Crypto won't be in it very much.
Yeah.
So
No, I don't think he'll be in it a whole lot, but I do think that he's going to be in it. I would like the beginning of it to be like when she drops him off with Clark, and then be when she picks him up.
Yeah, like the Supergirl movie
Yeah.
takes place during the events of this movie. I think that would be the way I would go with it.
And it would kind of explain why she's not there.
We're getting that next year, right? Because I think they wrapped production already.
yeah, I think that's the one DC movie we're getting in the DCU anyway. That's the one we're getting next year.
Hype.
Yeah.
Wait, Clayface though.
Is that in the DCU?
Is that a Elseworlds?
Light face, that makes me laugh. I just cannot get over the Izakai.
Oh no! You saw that?
Yes, I saw that. Oh my gosh, he was hilarious. He was not Clayface, but he was hilarious.
Oh no!
It was awful. It was awful.
I'm not ready to relive that.
Thank you, Dilly.
I think Isekai Clayface made it real far on your like worst characters ever.
It did.
Yeah.
Yes.
He made it really deep into that bracket. But they're shooting this one like a horror movie. It's gonna be.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
It's probably gonna be terrifying AF if they're gonna do it the way I think.
Yeah, I hope so.
Nice. Has that really been done before?
There have been attempts at a horror superhero movie, but most of them have been really lame. Like they said that's what New Mutants was gonna be.
Oh my gosh.
The New Mutants was supposed to be.
Horror.
Yeah. By horror movie, they just mean like the characters spend a lot of time in dark rooms doing nothing.
Pretty much.
And then Anya Taylor-Joy occasionally shows up to save the film for a few moments.
It's kind of what happened. And then, that was so disappointing. I really wanted New Mutants to be a good movie.
Especially since it took like 12 years to come out or
Yeah,
whatever.
they were like, man, because like it was a roller coaster of emotions. Like it's not gonna come out. Damn it, it's gonna come out. Yes, just over and over again, and then you finally get it, and it was that.
This is random, but I hear the Blade movie is back on.
No fucking way.
Yeah, so it's the New Mutants.
Oh no.
You know, it's like, all right, we're gonna get it. No, we're not. Oh, we're almost done with it. No, never mind. We never shot anything. Like,
Powerpuff Girls.
oh no, we didn't want that to happen.
that got really far. Like,
Yeah,
you can
it did.
find test footage of that.
they like shot a pilot, and the entire world was like, no.
It was.
Yeah, that was rough.
I feel like watching the test pilot though would probably be really funny, and every time like they do something stupid, you take a shot.
Oh
you know,
god.
like turning it into a drinking game of some sort. That would be hilarious.
I would be up if we could find the whole pilot. I would be up to review it just cause.
just cause, yeah, just cause.
Just to hate watch something, you know.
I mean, we did 1994 Fantastic Four. You know, I mean, that's unreleased.
That's true, yeah. And it wasn't the worst of those movies,
which is astounding.
Some people on the show on the podcast ranked it as the best. You know, so
who did that? Was that you?
No, I
was it?
It was 2 for me, but I think Dilly had it at 1.
It might have been Dylan. Yeah.
And you were like, if you're gonna watch it with friends, it's number 1.
It's number 1.
If you're watching it by yourself, watch the 2005. Yeah.
I do love how some movies are like that, though.
Oh, yeah.
It really depends on like your environment and who you're with. Like the first time I saw King Kong, I fucking hated it.
Wait, which one?
The one that had Jack Black in it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was on a terrible date.
Is that Skull Island?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one that Peter Jackson did, right?
It's the one
so.
before.
Or I don't know.
Skull Island is like the current King Kong, right?
Skull Island. That's the one with the Captain Marvel.
Yeah. So it's the one before that, right?
Yeah. The one that had Jack Black in this.
Okay.
2000s or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fucking hated it.
I remember that movie was long.
Yeah, it's way too long. It's way too long. But then, like, the second time I watched it with Oz. And it was so much better. Partly because of his commentary.
So you watched it the first time. Who'd you watch that with?
Random date.
Okay.
Yeah, his name was Andrew, and he was an asshole.
Well, shout out to you, Andrew, the asshole. When you said you went on a date, I was like, I think the movie came out in 2005. It was probably Oz, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't Timmy.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, Andy the Asshole sounds like a superhero that James Gunn would want to make a movie about.
Yes. Peacemaker makes a cameo here.
He did. That was great.
Yeah.
That was good. Peacemaker would be on fucking Fox News or whatever.
And the shit he was saying was so hypocritical.
Yeah.
Isn't that just his character?
It is.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you say? He says something about like, yeah, man, the guy says he stands up for truth and justice and he won't even kill people. What's up with that?
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
On that note, I have to talk about this.
All right.
And you know, I know, you know, that you're a Zack Snyder guy.
Oh boy.
But it was really nice to see, like, what if Superman fought these things in Metropolis and actually gave a shit about the citizens of Metropolis. I really, really loved that aspect of this movie, that, like, whenever there was, like, a big fight or a monster or whatever, Superman not only has to fight the thing, because, yeah, Superman is fucking Superman. He can beat just about anything. But it's like, he has to beat him and make sure that he doesn't kill half of Metropolis in the process. He even saved a squirrel at one point.
He did, and I loved that.
That was unnecessary.
It was wonderful.
But also, like, he'd been doing this for 3 years, not 3 days.
Yeah, I know,
in his defense. And also, he wasn't fighting fucking Zod either.
Yeah, that's true. You know. That's true.
But no, I also did notice that, and I like that as well. Like, he would, you know, try to save everyone. He
even checked in.
He couldn't save fucking Mally, though. Is that his name?
Oh man, that scene was fucking dark, bro.
I didn't think that was gonna happen.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither. And I think James Gunn knew that too. Like, even Lex was shocked. He was like, damn, 1 in 6. He's like, I mean, I guess the odds, you know, I guess technically.
And I love how Lex, as he's walking away in that scene, he's like, maybe I'll go find someone else who's close to you. Like that reporter who's always interviewing you, that Clark Kent guy.
Yeah, because we're all thinking, oh,
Lois.
you better not bring Lois here. She gonna kick you in the dick. But then he's like, I'm gonna go get that Clark Kent motherfucker. And you're like, yeah, good luck finding him.
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
I like that they explained the glasses.
Yep.
Nice touch.
And again, that's something that James Gunn would do. Of course, he would go with the hypno glasses.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, it's just the easiest thing that makes sense. You know, he has magic hypno glasses that keep you from realizing that's who he is, and that's it. No questions.
Yeah, no questions asked. Yep. It's just a simple fix. Fuck it.
Yeah.
What else do we get here?
We got another Mighty Crabjoys sighting.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and the actual song, didn't we?
Yeah, we got an actual song from him this time.
Jesus.
Maybe they'll show up in person in Peacemaker season 2.
Oh my gosh.
The song was written by James Gunn. I saw that on things going up. I was like, really? Oh my gosh.
It was not my favorite James Gunn number. Because I think he also wrote the song from the holiday special.
Oh, did he?
And that shit was dope.
Oh, that's great. That's great. For the moseying section, I almost had us rank the James Gunn movies. But there's one that I haven't seen. Not Slither, but there's one other he directed that I didn't see.
And I think I've only seen his superhero fanfare, Brightburn included. So...
Yeah. I mean, there's not a whole lot that like he just straight up directed, you know.
Yeah.
His superhero stuff. So like the four Guardian things, Superman, the Suicide Squad, Slither, and then whatever that other movie was, I forget.
And he wrote Creature Commandos.
Yep.
And then
he produced Brightburn.
Oh, he didn't direct that?
No.
Oh, okay. I was worried about Brightburn, like about this, because obviously Brightburn is very much a Superman. Have you seen that?
I have not, but I've heard about it.
It's evil Superman.
Yeah, and I like the concept. It's kind of cool.
It is.
Yeah, it was a good movie, and they kind of hinted at the end of it at like a evil Justice League or whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah, but we never got that. That Earth wouldn't make it very long.
Absolutely.
Because they don't have any heroes. They're just all villains.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that sort of The Boys?
No, there's heroes in The Boys. They die, but they're in it.
And then most of them think they're heroes, and
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime there is a legitimate hero, they usually end up biting it, or losing their powers or
real bad
or whatever. Yeah, it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's like somebody to fight you in that, but like in this planet, it was just regular humans and villains. Mm-hmm. That's it.
So now that we've seen Superman, what's the over under on Fantastic Four being better?
Better than Superman?
Yeah.
It's not gonna be.
Oh.
I'm with her. Not saying that I can't enjoy it, won't like it, whatever. It actually tonally feels like it's probably going to be the opposite. It feels like it's going to be a very ominous, kind of dark movie. Mm-hmm. Fantastic Four has the job of how can we get to Doomsday in 2 movies? It has to pull that weight. This movie didn't have that bearing down on it. Like, this movie has very much an Iron Man 1, like, yeah, we want you to be thirsty for more of this, but we don't have to, we can do what we want. We don't have to, pay off 24 other films and set up the next 9 and all that. Like, Fantastic Four, I feel like, just has so much riding on it. This movie did too, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And this movie's just so refreshing, man, in the midst of all the superhero fare that we get. It doesn't feel watered down. You don't feel like you've seen this movie before. Fantastic Four has 4 other attempts. And every single thing that they do in this movie that reminds us of anything in those other 4, whether we liked it or didn't, is going to feel rehashed in some way.
I think that the fact that we watched and reviewed those other 4 Fantastic Four movies only helps this one.
Oh, yeah. Especially since we did Fan Forcing last.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Because that's like a shot-by-shot, like, what not to do, cautionary tale.
In which, how irresponsible of me. I mean, when we watch... First Steps in a couple weeks. Yeah. It's gonna be good. I have to use the button now, okay? Because after that movie comes out, I'm not gonna have any use for it.
You got to delete it.
Yeah, got to get the.
Gotta get a new button then.
Yeah,
we have been using it a lot. Mm-hmm. But what about you guys? Like, what do you want to see from the DCU now that we're here?
So, I mean, I don't want to rush things, but it's gonna be time to start connecting this shared universe at some point. The Supergirl movie, I don't think will do that by and large. I think it'll help the universe feel bigger, but in terms of like a connected, cohesive unit, I don't think that the movie's being built to do that. Same thing with Clayface. I didn't even know Clayface was part of the DCU.
It may be Elseworlds. It may not be part of
If it is part of the DCU, that'd be like an interesting kind of thing. Because he's also in Creature Commandos.
That's true.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah, that's true. I think it's going to be based on that Clayface. So.
Oh wow! Well, that Clayface was formidable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, what do I want them to do? So, hopefully, everyone else who saw Superman feels similar to how we feel about the movie, and hopefully, word of mouth will help this thing make money. And I mean, the next big tentpole they need to really focus on is Batman: Brave and the Bold. That, in certain regards, that could be considered equally as vital as the Superman movie is.
Yeah. If not more, because there's been way more like beloved versions of Batman than there has Superman.
Yep.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
Yep.
Plus, also, if they fuck up Batman and it's supposed to be in the same universe, and it can't at least match Superman, it's not gonna go well.
James Gunn is going to have to direct that movie too.
It has the same vibe.
It can't have the same vibe because
Well, no. I mean, like, the same director vibe. The same touch.
That movie lives and dies on how Bruce and Damian are written. If Batman and Robin, that's gonna be where your humor comes from. That's gonna be like where your cool action set pieces can come from. Those two working in tandem. I mean, that's where the heart is gonna be. It damn near all depends on the dynamic between the dynamic duo. Everybody gets one. Thank you.
That's your second one, but all right. The first one was in the spoiler section, free section, I guess.
This new section.
New section.
Yeah, okay. One for each section.
Yeah.
It's Testament rules.
That's right.
Okay. It's going to be tough for me because I have a predisposed hatred for Damian. But do you think that they'll do Son of Batman like will they go into will Ra's be the villain? Like, will they go into Ra's, Talia, all of that, and do a Damian origin? It's never been done in live action.
They could. Do you think it's time to revisit Ra's? Do you think it's been enough time?
I think it's fine to do a comic book accurate Ra's because it's different than what we saw before.
Yeah.
Don't cast Liam Neeson. Not that he did a great job.
Right.
I'm just saying.
True that. That could be good. I like that a lot.
To me, that's low hanging fruit, man.
It is.
It's like you got Damian. You've never this story is well liked. It's not far fetched. It's not hard to explain to anybody. You have the whole Ra's al Ghul Lazarus Pit thing. Talia al Ghul shows up one day and she's like, "Hey, Bruce, so I'm gonna need you to take this over for a while." Bloop, here you go. And then deuces, I'm out. I got some shit I gotta take care of. And then Bruce is just like, "What the fuck is this, Alfred?"
Come handle this.
Yeah.
The real question is, will we have Ace the Bat Hound, and will he interact with Crypto?
Oh, no super pets, please, God, please, no super pets.
Kira hasn't made you watch Super Pets, has she?
Oh, I refuse.
I've watched it.
Oh yeah, no.
How is it?
Well, Dwayne the Rock Johnson is
Is he
Crypto.
Crypto? And Kevin Hart is Ace the Bat Hound? Is that right?
It's they're dynamic.
Yeah. I've seen little clips of that, and it looks horrible. It looks atrociously terrible.
It is.
Yeah, I forgot about it.
Yeah.
So hard pass.
Yeah.
But I do think that we will see. I think if in our next Superman sighting, if it's not in Supergirl, I think it will be at the end of Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, I think a Superman appearance would mean more in Brave and the Bold, just because like with Kara, I mean she's gonna be in the cosmos, with her story. So like there's so many other characters that we can visit besides Lobo, but there's other characters that we can visit. We can get like a different Green Lantern.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean there's shit. And then there's like various different villains we could get. I don't know how much they're gonna take from Woman of Tomorrow. Depending on how much they interpret from that book, they could go several different directions. So
yeah.
Anything else we have before we wrap up here?
Kira was almost Kara. That's an interesting fact.
I remember hearing that and being like, "Wow, you got some nerds." Yeah.
I am such a Supergirl fan and so excited for that movie to come out. I mean, I'm super hyped for it.
Everybody gets one.
Yeah, I mean, to me, from here, James Gunn can't direct all of these, right? He can't write them all. He can't direct them all. So I like the aspect that he, went hands-on for this movie because he was like, we have to get Superman right. If we can't get Superman right, we can't do shit. And, like, he gambled that and paid it off because I was immediately like, there's no fucking way I would start this with Superman because that's not a sure thing. The DCEU started with Superman, and look what happened. It was a disaster. Whether you love or hate, parts of it, or want to blame it on the studio or want to blame it on Zack Snyder. However, no matter what, the fact is the DCEU colossal failure. Is James Gunn going to be able to not only step in and direct and write things, but also to be Kevin Feige, for the DC universe? Is he going to let people go off and do whatever they want and make the Kathleen Kennedy mistake? How tight is he going to keep the universe? I hope that it's very, right? Because he has said that all shows, movies that don't have Elseworlds, all of that is, even video games going forward will all be tied in. So I hope that means that he wants to establish a continuity. It seems like, Rick Flag, we've seen him in 2 out of 2 of the DCU projects.
It's going to be 3 out of 3 when Peacemaker comes out.
Yeah, and that's the next thing we're getting, right?
Yep.
Season 2 Peacemaker. It'd be funny if Superman shows up at the end of that. He's like, "Hey man, I heard you just talking shit about me on the news."
Yeah, we get the same thing, but flip. Superman's on a talk show talking about Peacemaker.
Yeah.
I don't know why we let this crazy lunatic run around.
Super shit was hilarious.
Oh my god. Lex Luthor's literal monkeys.
Right.
Just set up to talk shit about Superman.
That felt personal.
That was some Eobard thong level petty.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was great.
Fucking Nicholas Hoult fucking killed it, man. I'm so happy.
Oh, Metamorpho. We haven't spoken anything about him. It was really quick.
So the interesting thing about that scene, right, is Lex is like, well, apparently there's no kryptonite left on the planet. Just go to Smallville, dog. Everybody has some. Literally everyone has some. It's like, that old thing. Yeah, I got some of that meteor rock here in the cabinet. Yeah, everybody in Smallville has some.
That's incredible. And, okay, so yeah, maybe the first 1 or 2 seasons of Smallville was all about so much kryptonite.
Yeah, so much.
It's all
kryptonite.
over the place.
It really is. Like, they could sell it and not make a whole lot of money. It was that much kryptonite.
Yeah. Oh, some kryptonite? Yeah, I got some of that. It turned my daughter into a giant scorpion one time, but here.
Here you go.
This rock killed my parents. I'm going to wear it as a necklace.
Yeah.
Oh. Metamorpho, he was I now know why they put him in the movie, because for a while I was wondering, okay, there's a lot of characters here. What is Metamorpho going to do? And come to find out, he's going to metamorph.
we also knew Maxwell Lord was going to be in the movie. Thankfully, like that was only like 5 seconds.
Right. Yeah. So we still really have to wait to see the other shoe drop with like the Justice Gang and like Maxwell Lord and their leader and yeah.
Obviously, they got the Hall of Justice set up, so they're setting up the seeds for Justice League. The other question too is like, there's currently no plans for Diana, so when are we going to get that? We have to get the Trinity.
Agreed. I can only assume that James Gunn is working on something.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like, where do you put Wonder Woman in all this?
I think I would really like to, and maybe they won't because it's so new. But I think I'd like to see them go the Absolute route.
Okay.
With her.
That could be interesting.
I mean, maybe I just want to see, Wonder Woman with a big ass like anime sword, but
in the Absolutes, she was raised by Cersei. And we saw Cersei in Creature Commandos.
That's true. We did. Yeah, so they put a little spin on it. It's like, what is it? They wanted to hide her from Zeus, so Cersei raised her instead. Is that how they went with it?
Something similar. I think like they wanted to kill off all the Amazons, but they got her.
Yeah,
something like that, and then Cersei raised her. It was something along those lines.
So yeah, she wasn't actually raised on Themyscira.
Yeah,
and she has a giant anime sword.
She does. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, homies, we know that you guys are so excited for.
That's the wrong button.
Maybe I did that on purpose. You don't know.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But we have one more stop before we get there. We have Ironheart coming up, man. And I know that you've already seen all 6 episodes. So,
we need to replace that with A1. A1.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's great.
Please do.
That is great.
There's quite a few Nicholas Hoult sound bites we could get that would have been really good.
I'm going to have to try to find that. It's going to take me a few weeks before they put that out.
I'll be honest. I kind of thought he was going to hit it at one point, he was going to do that. Yeah. I would have probably applauded.
He could have.
Yeah.
That would have been great. But yeah, Ironheart will be our next stop. Like Caleb, I too have to start watching it. And yes, but then after that, we will get to Fantastic Four First Steps. And then it'll be back to business as normal. But
gonna squeeze in some Doomsday Clock somewhere in there.
We're gonna squeeze in some Doomsday Clock somewhere in there as well. Have you had a chance to start that one yet?
I have not. I also haven't started Isles of the Emberdark, which is like the thing I was going to read first.
Yeah, I'm already halfway through with Isles of the Emberdark, and he hasn't really even started it.
When did you start? Between the drive from the theater to here?
Yeah.
I figured.
But yeah, I have promised to start that tomorrow, so I'll probably read that in a couple days, and then it's a novella, so for Sanderson that could be 600 to 700 pages.
Oh, wow.
I think it's probably 350, something like that.
Yeah.
A novella.
Right.
And, but yeah, I've been hearing nothing but good things, and I also know that the homie Lauren is on a cruise right now. She'll be very happy to hear that Hayden Christensen is in this movie. But she's probably going to have read it by the time she returns too. So yeah, I'm going to start that tomorrow. Probably have it read this weekend, time permitting, and then I can jump into Doomsday Clock. I think I'm gonna order the nice one. Like you have.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, so
yeah, the version that I lent you, it actually doesn't really exist in the wild. I kind of had to build it like that.
Yeah,
it came with only one because it's a 2-book slipcase that I lent you. It only comes with one, and the other thing's just like a false cover.
Yeah,
so I had to go out and find book 2, and then I just. But But yeah, I think we're good now. We have a lot coming down the pipeline, and we need to do a comic news somewhere in between all this as well.
We do.
So there's a lot of fun stuff coming up. I am very hyped. I'm very glad and relieved that Superman is a really good movie. Some would even say it's super. She laughed at it, so yeah, everybody gets one. But that's going to be all for now. Homies, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode nearly as much as we did. I had a blast. As always, I am so grateful to be joined by none other than my illustrious co-host for tonight, Kay. Thank you so much.
It was wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime you pop in, you know. But of course, I mean, my main co-host, none other than Junior. It's always a pleasure, Junior, to to podcast beside you. He's always so excited as well. But yeah, homies, that's gonna be all for now. And Caleb's here too. And
You can end up with Tom Welling.
that's an amazing callback to the beginning
of this episode. I was laying the foreshadow.
Oh shit!
Full circle.
Yeah. But that's going to be all for now, homies. We will see you guys again very soon. But until next time, my name is Superhero Homie Q.
I'm Superhero Homie Caleb.
I'm Superhero MK.